Welcome, everybody. This is a special edition of Reality Speaks TV. As you can see, we're live. I have a co-host with me today, Howard Potter. I really like your last name, Potter, because that you're a man of many hats, right? And so the Potter, I would like to think to mold things and create things, and here you are. I'm happy you're here today, co-hosting with me today. We're here because you're running for student, excuse me, for school board for the city of Utica and Utica City District. But I want everybody to get a close up of you, Howard. I know you from A&P Master Images, co-owner, and I know you from out in the community from when you were running the first time around.
hmm
But just from your perspective, tell us who Howard Potter really is.
You know, I'm gonna show everybody this. Like, this is all me, right? Making sure I hit bullet points. But I'm gonna put this over here because I think that's a very fair question. Who am I? Um, I'm the community in the sense of the community raised me. I was a young man that grew up in the house Good Shepherd. A lot of people know my background and my story of living in the house Good Shepherd from the age of 11 to 18. I'm a husband. I've been married for 24 years, together with my wife 26 years. Came from a broken home. My wife came from a broken home. Great family, don't get me wrong, but we were very adamant about making sure that if we're going to make a commitment to one another, we're going to be there. I'm a father of two amazing kids, Angelina Potter. She's about to be 23 this year. She helps run our company as our general manager. My son, Aiden Potter, is about to be 20. He's our production manager of our company at A&P Master Images. And a lot of people, and my wife always says this, in order to understand the man, you have to understand his circumstances and where he came from. And being that you touched on the prior run at the school board, a lot of people don't understand what happened during that time period of, how people were arrested. Things were found out about the elections, stamp usage, all because of the research and tenacity that I had to put forth to go against people that were doubting me on why I was doing what I was doing. So me as a person, I'm just a humble man that built himself from nothing and made it somewhere in life. And I want our kids and community to know that they can do it too, and they can do it, and nothing should hold them back.
Nothing. So, like you said, you ran some years back. What do you think have changed from you running this time from now? Like, how is your campaign different?
The campaign is it's the people this time. Before it was me going against people that had an agenda, right? There was 6 people running for 2 spots. There was a couple political candidates that ran, a couple locals that moved to the area and have been here for several years that ran, and then there was a couple of us that were running that grew up in the community as well, and that had kids at the time in the school district still. This time, both my kids are graduated. They're both helping take weight off my shoulders, so that way I can focus on doing something like this. Because for me, this isn't a 1 meeting a month or 2 meeting a month gig. This is
Right.
almost a secondary full-time job because I work 80 hours a week as it is, and then I already spend 15 to 20 hours a week on researching school district stuff. So for me, this time around, like, just my social media platform, because I'm Facebook Live here while I'm live with you on your platform,
Yes.
and we got up to almost 1.8 million viewers or in the past 28 days. So
Wow.
the people are behind this time that I'm running. I mean, they've been asking me, and I said, you know what? The craziest thing happened 2 days before I had to have all my signatures. I said, all right. My wife was like, let's do it. I'm like, are you kidding me? We got 48 hours. She goes, you'll figure it out if you want it bad enough.
That's what's up, Amanda. Because I remember the last time you two were on,
Mm-hmm.
Amanda was talking about how taxing it was as far as people they need the help, but they're not aware that they need the help. It was, she
Yes.
make sure that you. So this time she's like, go for it, because she knows that it's a need out there. And yeah, well, hi, Amanda.
And here's the other part of it. Not only is there a need, she knows my potential of what I could do for the district, for the board, for the admin, for the students, for the parents, for the teachers and support staff. She knows I will give 110%, and she knows I'm in it for the right reasons.
Yes, exactly.
And those are the things that people need to understand, is like, someone like me, I'm not patting myself on the back, but I give 115% in everything that I do. For me, it isn't just showing up and be like, oh, I sat on the meeting, I asked a couple questions, I did good enough. No, real change needs to happen in all different platforms. We need to see more parents come to these meetings. We should see them excited to want to come to these meetings, not
Yeah.
public speaking, telling us what's wrong because we can't see it in front of us.
Yeah, not on public comment. You're right.
Yeah.
So, my question is, I guess it's coming to the students, like, how would you advocate? Because I already know that you advocated for your son with the time that we were on school board. You even advocated for my son when he was going through that incident in his senior year, and I came to you and you suggested what I did, and I spoke up in public comment. So now, haven't you advocated for just me and your children, but how would you advocate for students who might feel unheard or overlooked? Because you already know how it is in the hood, Howard. You know what I mean? So how would you advocate for our students that feel unheard when you are elected on the school board?
Well, the biggest thing is we have to lead by example, right? And you touched on some pretty important things before I answered that whole question, because it's a very good question. Is I've been advocating since 2020. Well, actually before 2020, 2017, when it was drop off and pickup safety, meeting with the police, the mayor's office, having private meetings, and getting school board officials involved in these meetings. But from 2020 on to this period, I've worked with dozens upon dozens of staff, students, and their parents to help advocate or educate them on how to advocate for themselves. Because the first thing that has to happen, we have to not only make the kids feel like their voice matters, but we also have to make the parents feel like their voice matters as well. So how do you do that? Well, you know what? We do public commenting. How about we do public commenting for students and allow them to have their own time period to speak? Or they can write down their concerns and have those sent into the board for us to read them aloud to the public. So that's just one way. But when kids in a nutshell feel like their voice isn't being heard, right? How many kids have brought in weapons to school, not because they're violent kids, but because they're being bullied and no one's listening to them?
Right.
And so now they start. So it starts by giving them a sounding board, whether it's writing stuff down to where we could read it aloud in front of the public, right? We don't have to say their name if they don't feel comfortable with their name. And secondly is allowing them to speak at the board meetings if they choose to. That's a starting point.
Yeah, heavy on the not saying your names, because I remember even when I went up there to advocate, they like, state your name for the record. Like, hello, this is publicly viewed. Some people are in domestic violence situations where they can't say their address or can't say their name, but they still want to advocate.
Yes.
So that's another thing. Like, just let people say what they want to say. Why do you have to, where they coming from? That's another topic though for another day.
But you touched on one thing though, and I'm sorry, I apologize.
Yeah, I'm listening. Like, you're not
you brought up that I understand the hood, and people need to understand why I understand every area of our city. Because when I grew up in group homes, I was in Cornhill growing up in a group home and group emergency off of Eagle Street over that way behind Oneida Square, where you couldn't go out, you couldn't look out your window past 8 o'clock at night. Right? You had to have your head on a swivel if you're playing at the basketball court or if you're waiting for your bus. Right? I've lived in North Utica in a foster home for about a year. I've lived in South Utica, West Utica for different time periods. And now I've lived in East Utica for 24, 25 years of my life. So again, it goes back to community. Until you lived where the people are living, then you can't understand their outcomes and where they're trying to go. Most people don't understand. The people in all the different parts of our city, most of them are on the same wavelength of just trying to survive, not thrive. And we need to change that mindset.
Don't get me started, Howard. So I want to ask you, why is this election important to you right now? Like, why is this election important to the community?
Because we're failing our community. Watch a board meeting, watch how they clap for each other, and then look at our stats at our graduation. We went from an average of a 70% graduation rate, which I'm still not happy with, down to a 67% graduation rate. Our dropout rate increased, right? So we had 711 senior class students, right, that were scheduled to be graduates. I think it was around 455 actually graduated. How can we think we're doing the best job? And then the fact is, it's always been a custom for us to blame our ESL students and our special education students as to why our graduation rates are pillaging and falling to the wayside. Mm-hmm. How can any school board meeting not sit back and be like, we need to do better? We need more. We have the money, right? You have $310 million at your disposal. It's how we're handling that money. We're not paying our teachers a fair rate to onboard at $44,000 to $48,000, right? We're not looking at, we're onboarding them as teachers to then live in poverty with the same people they serve because they got to focus on making a paycheck and trying to educate at the same time. We got to fix safety and security. Why are people still getting stabbed? Why are knives still making it into the school district when you have now your second security system of over $2 million? I don't think it's the tech. I think it's how we manage and operate and utilize the tech, because you can't tell me a $4 million system failed and now a $2 million system failed. So there's a multitude of things of why it's important to run. But first and foremost, it goes back to actually, we're branding our school district as Utica United, but I have yet to see that. And I'm telling everyone right now, right here and now, you want Utica United? It's about starting from the top and working your way down, but you have to listen to the people on the bottom to get to the top.
What about I didn't know that about the graduation rate. Thank you for telling me that information.
You don't hear them brag about it, do you?
No, I don't. I haven't heard anything from it. My children have graduated, and since then I haven't even looked back. I don't even live in the district anymore. But the question, but I'm still tapped in and I'm still tuned in and I still attend things. But what do you think about the addition with I think it was like HVAC and all
the CTE wing? So do I believe in CTE? Yes. I actually went to BOCES for 2 years while I was doing one of the first bridge students back in 1999 with a handful of other students to go to MV and bridged as a senior to MV and finish up BOCES at the same time for graphic design while working 2 part-time jobs. CTE wing, I did not believe in the wing. I believe we should have a CTE high school. The reason being is I've talked about this for the past 3 or 4 years. I've gone to seminars on the baby boomers retiring. There's a total cohort of 71 million people fully retired by 2030. We're only birthing 10,000 people a day, and we're retiring 11,000 people a day, right? So that means all walks of life, all backgrounds, right? All professions. So that means we're already at a disadvantage. Well, when you build a CTE wing that's only graduating on average 17 to maybe 21, 22 kids per profession per year, right? And that's not to say they're not onboarding other students to start learning. It doesn't matter. They're not graduating fast enough to accommodate the loss on the back end. On top of that, when kids go to college, the average student doesn't hit the workforce full time until age 25. So that's another gap no one's accounting for, right? Mm-hmm. So that means you are going to have shortages. So we're here with the CTE wing. We were supposed to have 3 floors. We only have 2, and I wanted a high school. So what are we going to do about that? Well, it's very simple. It's called use your data analytics, understand your environment. Don't try to mimic what everyone else is doing because we're not everyone else. We're a miniature New York City with around 42 different languages and a lot of different exposure to talent within our school system of students and staff. What we need to do is we need to focus on opening those doors up wider. What do I mean by that? Let's create after-school programs for CTE. What does that look like? Right now, you're only dealing with 17 to 21 per class. Well, now let's open it up for extended learning, right? Like they do with the RED program, but let's do that for kids that can't get into those classes, because here's the other thing you don't know about CTE. They make the student apply for it. Why do they make them apply for it? Because they only have so many seats. So that means there's a bunch of kids that are juniors and seniors that would love exposure to be in HVAC, electrical, construction, body shop, all that type of stuff, right? That aren't getting exposed and not getting experience, which then hurts us, the community, and them at the same time. So open up after school programs for them. And then maybe on the weekends, you could be opening up for either them and adults to then get adults that don't have a skill or trade into a skill or trade. And you can go from 17 to 21 students to maybe 40 to 60 students per year graduating, getting them in to then being productive citizens, having a great pay scale. And then on top of that, their benefit packages and everything else. And guess what? They can afford daycare. They can afford their health care. They can afford to rent or own a home. Because my mission at the end of the day is to get the graduation rate up, get kids that want to be in college, going to college, get people that want to be in trades, in the trades, and get people less dependent on having the rent and more people owning homes in our community.
Wow. Howard, you got this all figured out. I'm saying I want Howard for mayor. I ain't playing around. We're going to go to some comments, Howard. Angela Carr watching from Facebook. It says, hey, my friend. Hey, Angela. And Grand Rising from J Watch watching from Facebook as well. He's saying facts when you was talking. Facts. He like talk. And here's something a little bit more concerning. He says, my daughter. Oh, wait, before we get to that, we're coming back to you, Shy. Hi, Shy. Here it is. My daughter was threatened with a knife on the bus and in school.
Not acceptable.
Not acceptable. What is happening in these high schools? First of all, why is there only one high school? And then the other high school, which is charter, they pick and choose who they want. So they didn't really count. Like, but they coming out the budget too. The charter's coming out the school budget too. Like, my daughter was trying with it. Come on, this is concerning, Howard. Let's go.
So right off the rip, right? Number one issue is safety and security. I've said it for 6 years. The security officer that was shot in the back of the neck, right? Wasn't just a security officer. The man had a full-time job. He was doing it part-time to keep an eye on his daughter to make sure she was safe. 1. 2, I've known that man since I was 16 in the house Good Shepherd when I worked at the bowling alley at Panorama on Genesee Street. 3, my son was in the parking lot when that went down, 1 block from my house. And my son called me, freaking out, letting me know that he's safe. He's getting his friends in his car and he's getting out of there. Right. So I have zero tolerance for that. So I have an idea on after school activities, whether it's sports, whatever. And I've actually emailed the county and the mayor and a lot of different politicians about this idea. And it's gotten zero traction and I think zero reply. Okay, we had issues at that football game. We have baseball, everything else, right? I wanted a universal ID card and scanners for all schools because guess what? Other schools have issues with violence and stuff like that. It's just maybe not as much as what our school district has, correct? So if you have a universal ID card that is obviously logoed with every school's logo, but you the student have to walk up to the gate, have that card scanned. Why is that? Because they have these officers or these people standing watch to try to pick people out of the crowd that they think are the troublemakers or that are suspended. I'm sorry. It's physically impossible for any human being to remember every face, every name, and every action. So if you have the card and they got to scan that card, it can red flag them if they're suspended or have had any altercations and if they're not allowed to be at those games, no matter what game they go to in any community. So that's one barrier right there. What's the other thing that I've foiled on? Safety and security training. A fraction of our staff are even trained on de-escalation or anything like that. Another thing that helps prevent these issues, I grew up in the house Good Shepherd. I had anger management courses, independent living courses. I think every child should take an anger management course. It doesn't have to be labeled as such, but teaching them how to deal with their emotions. Now, when I say emotions, it's called getting mad, learning how to de-escalate and problem solve, right? Because what's the famous term that everyone likes to say, adults and youth? I have anxiety. Anxiety is a real thing, but it's also learning how to cope with the life stresses that are hitting you that you've never experienced. And when you go back to the data analytics, because our school district likes to talk about being architects of data, how many parents do we have that are single parents? How many households have 2 parents in it, but they're strapped financially and they're just trying to make it by, right? When do we break down the human level of who we are and what our community is made up of and get back to the basics? And so by teaching these kids how to cope with their feelings on a stressful situation, you could also offer it to the parents after school if they feel that they need the support and help as well. Now that's bringing them together in their household, right? You have to break that down. We need to give more support to our staff with better training. We actually need to start researching and hiring qualified safety and security officers, not people that are just working in department stores that are taking a couple online seminars and then shoving them in the building trying to stop fights. It's physically impossible. It's not even fair to them. And you're actually putting them in harm's way as well as the staff. And if you remember the one kid that stabbed the other kid by the gymnasium in Proctor, 2 teachers had to get involved. Why is that? Because there was not enough security around to catch it in time. And thank God we had those 2 teachers there. They don't get paid enough to deal with getting knives, coming at them. So safety and security is my number one battle out the gate when, if elected onto the school board.
Yes.
But one more thing on that, and I apologize, is watch a board meeting. Why is safety and security not a topic every board meeting? Why do they not have a committee about safety and security? Our school buildings inside and out should be the safest parts of our community in our entire community.
Wow, Howard, these comments is coming in strong, man. Woo, baby, let's get to them. Utica schools need to show forward living skills with a budget so big. Why is there no display on what these kids could become, especially the children of color?
Yeah. Here's my thing, right? I grew up in the hood. My best friend's mother's house is on Weston Eagle. I've had to go over there and help with our first responders get homeless people off of her property, right? And so when I was growing up, right, no matter black, white, Puerto Rican, whatever, right, all ethnic backgrounds, one thing we all have in common, we understand the struggle of being poor and broke and trying to claw our way out to build something for our family and our community, right? And this is an important topic because living skills, again, I took independent living growing up in the House of Good Shepherd. So we need to teach them how to balance a checkbook. We need to get them involved in the Oneida County workforce programs. We need to get them involved with as many job shadows as possible with as many local businesses. Mm-hmm. I've been part of Utica Young Scholars, BOCES, on the committee for design at BOCES. I've written course outlines for graphic design for MV, and I've seen it on all different platforms, and I've lived it. We need to teach these kids how to live, not survive. And we also need to get them around the appropriate people that can show them the correct ways, and correct meaning logical, financially sound, good ROI. So just because the whole staple back in the day was you had to go to college to make $1, right? To be successful. Mm-hmm. And if you worked with your hands, you were dumb. No, we need to teach these kids you can make an income level from any direction. And we don't teach that enough. And that's not a slight at the teachers. The teachers are being forced to teach for a test, not the curriculum. Yes. We need to let teachers be teachers again, because back in the day when I grew up, my guidance counselor, Miss Angel Howe, Miss Henderson, Mr. Nemi, Mr. Nemechek, I could go on and on teachers. They weren't just my teachers. They were an extension of my family. And we need to get back to that. Teachers aren't allowed to be an extension of family anymore.
And that's the thing too about these schools. It's like academic focus, like the young scholars. These are fine programs, but where are the programs, or where are the 100% support for people who are like creators like you and I, Howard? Mm-hmm. Like, we're academically inclined, don't get me wrong, but we also have this creative artistry to us. And the creative artistry is not honed upon, it's mostly academics. That's exactly why I'm creating this, so we can go into the school with how to teach these kids how to podcast, how to use their voice, how to tell a story, because not all children are academically inclined. There's some children that can go to rest the bed and wake up with a whole vision and then animate it, or put it into audio, put it into a poem or a short story. Not everything is academics. The focus is I feel like the priorities is, Shy also says, hi, Shy. Shy is also be great when you get elected, Howard, to come in to help, because she's certified in so many things. She's AI, and all of this stuff. She says also help the educators who want to help more. She just said, yeah, here we go. Also help the educators who wants to help more learn AI to help ease the loads.
Yes, because
what do you think about AI, Howard? Because a lot of people are like criminalizing it too.
So I can tell you firsthand, I was against AI about 3-4 years ago, because all I thought about was they're going to steal people's jobs, right? And if we learned anything about technology, it's not so much stealing a job as it's repurposing. And 23 years as a business owner, so on my other monitor over here, we actually own our own software for our company. We have a local software designer, good friend of mine that's developed our software for the past 8 years. We've been using it for 8 years, and it's just constantly progressive. So now we're beta testing our online version of our software, and AI is incorporated into it. So why are we utilizing AI? AI is actually going to be reading 8 years of history, summarizing it on our production calendars. Then I'm going to take the next 3 to 6 months, build out the production calendars, and then AI is going to morph both together with real-time data and past data to streamline our production, which not only makes us more profitable, where's that money go? It helps balance out the cost to our customers, improve the hourly rate and the benefits to our team, because in our line of work, we're one of the few that actually offers full benefits to our team. Healthcare, paid time off, you name it. But AI is massive. And the other thing that you can use AI for, you see everybody using it with art. It's not there to replace every single person. But again, when we talked about, or when I brought up about the retirements of the baby boomers, you have to employ AI to offset that loss. And not only that, AI, my grammar is horrible, right? My writing skills, like what I mean by horrible is, can I speak? Can I write? Yes. But is it to the level that I think I should be at? No, because what was I focused on? Surviving, not thriving when I was a kid in school. And it wasn't because I didn't have resources. By the age of 18, I had to be out of house good shepherd on my own. So I had my first apartment by 18 years old, 19 years old. I bought my house when I was 21. So I was in survival mode. I didn't have a mom and dad to back me up financially if it didn't work, right? And so when you look at AI and all the things, it's there to take whatever your weakest points are that you haven't learned or developed yet, your bottom 30, 40%, and it helps balance you out to make you more productive, more precise. We actually tell our staff to use AI here. If they run into a problem, come up with what the problem is, and then start to develop a solution for it and think, right? Because we're not teaching our kids to think. And using AI it's not a crutch. It actually helps develop their minds faster. If you
Thank you.
Like, hold on. Oh, my phone's right there. You take your smartphone, right? And this is my thing, is like, we have a smartphone, but we're teaching people to get dumber with it. We actually look at it as like it's a negative. Well, guess what? If you turn it around and you teach kids, like I've taught my kids and my wife has too, to use YouTube and all these problem solving media channels to educate themselves. We've taught our kids from such a young age in our house, pretend you're not supposed to have it and go get it. Very simple.
Wow. And Fiston, thank you for watching, Fiston. Hey, Fiston.
Thank you.
This guy is great. You have to listen to the people at the bottom to get to the top. I love this. We got some more comments. How would you hide up here? Shy talking about I'll help start one. We know, Shy, I already plugged you in.
That'd be awesome.
And Teresa's like, what? Hi, Teresa. She's also watching from Facebook. So I'm looking. I don't want to miss anybody because I got in trouble last time. So emotional intelligence is also what Shy specializes in. Thank you, Shy.
Nice.
And Jay Watt says, I teach conflict resolution and anger management redirection at Suey Poly through writing. Let's go, Jay Watt.
So we were just talking about art forms, right? So back when I was younger and in group homes, I was constantly focused on sketching, right? Drawing, because that's my background is art. And so I would literally just, if I had something was bothering me, I would just shut down and just start drawing, get my feelings out on the paper. So writing is another, art form to get that out.
Exactly. Correct. And Chris Sutherland, watching from Facebook, says, amen. Hi, Chris.
Appreciate it, Chris.
And okay, let's go. I'm gonna ask you one more question after this, but I do want to get to the comments because people are watching in real time. One of the biggest problems in the school is teachers who target children for parents asking for to be held. Our child and our children in the school. Friday, Mr. LaRue told my 11-year-old grandson he's going to get this when he is going to get my grandson suspended. Whenever I tell a principal about the behavior of some of his staff, his first instinct is to protect the adult, not the child. Ooh, Teresa, I went through something like this. Let's go, Howard.
I've experienced this. When my son was in 6th grade, he had an amazing teacher. There was a kid that was throwing paper balls at the, behind him or back of his head. Now, my son was the starting center for Proctor for football. So he's not a little kid. But I'm very blessed that he has my wife's temperament and not mine at that size. Because he turned around and he literally just snatched the kid's notebook because nothing was being done in the class. Because every time the teacher would turn her head, the kid would throw stuff. So the kid wasn't getting caught. So my son took his notebook, and when he went to go grab the notebook, the kid stabbed my son in the hand with a pencil. Now I work 80 hours a week. My wife and I running our company, and so I used to play flag football back at Field of Dreams. And so I get to my weekend football game, and my son used to go and watch the team. And I get stopped by a parent saying, "Hey, how's Aiden?" I said, "What do you mean, how's Aiden?" Like, "How's his hand?" I said, "What?" I said, so I called my son over, showed me his hand. He had 4 layers of puncture marks still healing. Well, come to find out, he was stabbed in the hand. They sent him to the nurse's office to have it looked at and put a band-aid on it and, disinfect it. Then the nurse sent him to the principal's office. The principal sent him back to class to point out who did it, to send him to the principal's office. Come to find out, no report from the nurse's office, no report of the incident at all. The kid was sent home for the day, no report. So I got a hold of the head of security at the time, which was a retired UPD officer, and he admitted, he goes, "Howard," he goes, "you're not going to like this, but I'm not going to lie to you." He goes, "There was nothing done or reported about this." So I know firsthand how you feel, and how we combat this as a community or as a school system is, one, we have to hold ourselves accountable. It means the board members. So one thing I've been telling everybody, just because you vote for me and say I get on doesn't mean you don't hold me accountable to a standard, which means if you're running into an issue and it's not getting solved, come to me directly. I'm not running from you. I'm not going to be one of those board members that tells you what you want to hear, how you want to hear it to get your vote, and then walk away. I did this. I've been at this for 6 years. We need to get the teachers' support within those classrooms. We need to get the right safety and security parameters in place. We need to create zero tolerance for the real bad behavior. And then the kids that are acting out, we need to understand and break it down as to why they're acting the way they are. Because guess what? Some kids are coming to school hungry and they're just frustrated and they act out. Some kids are being bullied and we're not listening to them. Some kids don't have a support system at home because their parents are struggling to survive to bring food into the house and put a roof over their head. So they may not be getting the attention they need. Some kids are teaching their siblings and helping them with their homework, and they're not getting the attention they need. It all comes down to us just being a better version of ourselves and helping each other. And it starts from all directions.
Right. Oh, baby.
Sorry, these aren't simple answers, and they're not simple. They're not a one-size-all box to just shove people in them and say it's going to work.
Period. Jeremiah, Mr. Thomas, I'm not about to do that to your first name, but I know you. Jermico. This is he's also a local celebrity.
He's an author.
Yeah, he's an author. He's doing wonderful things. He says, "Good job, Howard. I respect and love what you stand for. I totally agree with the issues you have been pointing out with Utica and District. AI, if done correctly, can enhance, also help your workforce to be smoother." I agree. Yes.
110%. And here's the thing about this young man, and I say young because he's still young to me.
Yes.
Talented artist, wrote multiple children's book. I have just about every one of them in my office actually autographed. And I worked with him every step of the way when he was talking about what he was doing, how he was doing it. We bounced ideas off one another, right? That's how you level up. You build each other up. You don't get jealous of someone's success. You help one another. And he's just one of many, like Anthony Harris and a bunch of others, or Antonio Harris and a bunch of others that I've worked with in the community, because they've seen the platform that I've built through my struggles, right? Mm-hmm. And no matter if someone was putting me down, whatever, I just put my head down and keep working. Because one thing that people will never understand about me is I was living in a house with Shepherd when family didn't want me. So what more are you going to do to me?
So we have more questions, but I do want to more people in the comments, but I do want to ask you, because I saw on your literature that says every child, every voice. So what does every child, every voice personally mean to you, Howard?
You know, when you grow up in group homes and you come to realize you didn't meet your biological father until you were 16, no one's coming to save you. I was very fortunate that I had a stepfather and his sister that would check on me. My aunt Terry Ann, which was my stepfather's sister, would come and pick me up, and she would teach me about responsibility and basic structure besides the support system I had in there. But when you come and you've dealt with abuse, neglect, right? You ball up into this shell real tight, and you're angry at the world at all times. And you're angry not because you're an angry person, but because you can't understand the emotions you feel and why people don't want you around, that are supposed to be your closest and strongest advocates of you as a child. And once you live that, the biggest thing I had to learn through my anger and anger management classes, and I'm still learning to be a better person every day. I'm not going to sit here and tell you in front of everybody I'm perfect. I'm not. Everyone has a fuse, and it runs out at a certain point. But I had to learn as I got into business that I can't solve things with this. I've got to start using this, and that there's always someone that wants to knock me down, and I have to learn to be better. So I want to pass that on to the next generation, and not just the next generation. I'm working with parents on how to teach them to advocate and not lose their temper. Because the other thing you hear too in the public is this parent came in yelling and swearing at me. Guess what? If I can teach you, or we have classes for these parents how to handle those situations, and they know the rules to the game and they're not being used against them, they're going to be able to advocate and help their child out faster. And then their child is going to understand the rules to the game. So when they get older, they're going to have that voice as well. So yes, every child, every voice, and teaching them how to utilize their voice in a constructive way to where it can't be used against them. Just like the gentleman, was it Matt Kilborn, that was exposed for saying a bad word in the media for a 10-second clip when he had a 3-minute speech, and we ignored the rest of it, and then we labeled him, and then our board allowed that footage to go out. It's just a snippet and not correct, saying, hey, there was more behind the story of why this man acted the way he did. It wasn't just an angry father showing up just to be mean. He was needled and has been needled.
Yeah,
so parents need a voice too, not just the children.
Yes. It's very true. The things that I went through at that school board, it shouldn't have happened, That's what pretty much wanted me to run for city council, because I felt like, and I had to learn that the city council and the school board, they can work together, but they're totally different entities. And I'm just wondering why. So it's so many changes that have to be done, and I'm so happy that you're running, Howard, again.
Thank you.
So Teresa says, my grandson went from being bullied, my students, to being targeted, my schools, by some teaching staff. They don't like the fact that I'm a strong advocate for my grandson. All the adults come together and protect each other, who is there to protect the children. Yeah, when you become an advocate, it seems like they take it personal. And if what I went through personally is like, if your child has a special need, they take it personal too. It's like you advocating for the services that they have to render by law. Why are you getting upset for advocating? Especially if I'm showing up as a parent. There's so many parents not showing up. I remember Teresa been advocating since when my children was in school. So now her grandchildren are in school, and she's advocating, and she's running into these barriers. Like, what's up with that?
So I've talked to dozens upon dozens of teachers, and I think, like sometimes if you could be having a bad day and a super nice person can come along and just say the wrong thing and not know it's the wrong thing, whether they're joking or whatever, right? And you just snap at them, right?
Right.
I think we have to understand as a community that teachers fall into that same category. Picture trying to have, 18 to 25 students, and you're trying to, juggle all this stuff. Now take into a special education setting, which is much more difficult, right? Why is it much more difficult right now? These teachers don't have enough TAs, one. TAs that are being dropped into these classrooms are being we're doing so as a disadvantage, because we're not training them to work with special education students. They don't understand the signals, the signs, dealing with nonverbal, having to change a diaper, right? How many parents can honestly say they would want to change some other kid's diaper, or would be able to handle mentally day in and day out trying to keep up with all these things with zero training, right? And again, I'm not making excuses for anyone. These are the things that are being told to me. And when they're not getting support from the top, right? And it's like the teacher, the students in the middle, the teachers here, the family members here, whether it's a grandparent or a parent or aunt or uncle, and the kids being smushed in the middle, right? Because they're not getting the support and the parents not getting the support. So you guys end up taking it out on each other. And sometimes you could say everything just the right way, but they take it as an insult because they know you don't know what they're facing on the other end, and they can't talk about it because they could put their job at jeopardy. So again, I'm not defending anyone. I'm just telling you what I've seen and what I've heard and what I've seen as a parent. And again, it comes down to structure and assistance and proper training. Because the other thing that needs to happen, and I want to advocate for, what about training seminars for parents of special needs children, right? There's, you don't go to school, you don't wake up one day and go to school and say, oh, I want to learn this. You learn it because it's a necessity, because you have a child that has the needs. My nephew is dating a lovely young woman that has two children, and one of them has special needs, within our educational system. And I'm a proponent. I lived in a foster home with a child with special needs. They are very, very intelligent children. They just learn differently. No different than a child that can learn from reading or from actually physically hand-on doing. They just learn differently. And the more we don't give them the resources, or we don't give the staff, the TAs and the teachers the resources, the parents resources, these kids can't reach their full potential. It's never going to happen.
And I don't like the fact that they hold the children. And they start taking out the advocacy that you're going hard for your child out on my children. Like Mr. Smith, he was the vice principal. He's not there anymore, but he was the vice principal when my son was going to school. And my son was being bullied at that school. He started taking it out on my son, like, using his authority, like holding back my son. I didn't like that, man. I thought he was very racist. And the principal at the time, he was the principal at Proctor. I don't care. I'm not, I don't have anything. These people better not come for me. But anyway, these are the people that are leadership at these schools, principals and assistant principals, doing the most. And when the parents come up there to speak, to advocate for their children, they're taking it out on the child when the parents are not around. All of that shit has to stop, for real.
I think,
oh no, you're fine.
I think the other thing we have to be cognizant of, and again, this is what you're
racist.
With me.
Some of these people are racist up there, for real, man.
Well, even take race out of it, right?
Ex-military. Okay, I'm listening.
Yeah. To even take race right out of it. Let's break it down to the simplest. We're human beings, right? Take race right out of it. And I'm not saying there's not some form of anything going on, because guess what? There's ageism, there's sexism, there's everything, right? That can flow between school districts, right? And so the biggest thing is we have to understand, when I walk into a situation, I'm not going to just take the parent side. I'm not just going to take the teacher side. I'm not just going to take the admin side. I'm going to listen to all the facts, right? And try to come up with a positive solution to bring everyone together. And the other thing that we don't talk about and that isn't spoken of, you have to remember, who do the principals take their directives from? The admin. Who's the admin take their directives from? The assistant superintendent and superintendent. Who's the superintendent take his directives from? The board. So if all those chains of command aren't flowing properly, and again, if you look at all of our elementary school buildings, what are they trying to hire now? They're trying to hire assistant principals. So that means we've been running a skeleton crew with one principal, and the average building holds 450 to 700 students per elementary school, give or take, right? And I could be off on the high part, but I know it's at least between 500 and 600 a school. Then you hit the middle schools, right? Which is your secondary there, right? You have two middle schools, and they're ranging up there big time with 700-800 kids in a school building with one principal and maybe one assistant. And then in elementary, you have no assistant. So if they're not there that day, the stress falls on everyone else. But again, if we're not giving those principals the support they need and the wraparound services they need, they're not going to be able to do their best job for your student or you, the parent. And they're not able to give the support to the teachers. And that's why I say it starts at the top, but we have to listen at the bottom to get back to the top.
Yes. Morning. Happy rising, Jennifer. She says so many changes. And there's so many changes. Oh, thank you, Jay Watt. She said, y'all some strong women. Shout out to y'all for holding it down. That goes for me and Teresa. Yeah, Teresa, we've been in these trenches, man. Lady T, Mother Teresa. I don't know how much time you have. But
I got more. I got plenty of time. I made at least 2 hours for this, so whatever you need.
Okay, so I'm asking people, if you want to come on the panel, how are you feeling? Because I'm doing a lot of these comments. Y'all want to come on and talk to Howard? Those who watching
fire away. Don't be shy. Don't be bashful. LinkedIn, this is your time.
Or YouTube. You heard what the man said. He said, this is your time. If y'all want to come up and ask some questions. Let me know in the comments, and I'll give y'all the link so y'all can come up here to talk to Howard directly. You heard? All right. It says, Jennifer says, indeed, instead of working together with the parents who are advocating not only for the children, but all the children, they are instead of being shunned. Yeah, they're not being welcome. Yeah, you're
Hey,
right.
can I tell you something? I'm a prime example. How many? I had the cops called on me by the superintendent not once but twice. When I came back from vacation, I had a package on my desk that was anonymously sent to me, and he sent the cops to my company, where I work, how I feed my family, how I pay my taxes, which benefits the school district and the city with no pilot program ever, sent the cops saying I was harassing him because of my foils and the information I was putting out in the public. And then the next day, tried to get me charged into a larceny charge. So trust me, that's why I say at the end of the day, I'm not saying race doesn't matter or those things aren't important. I faced it. I have faced dealing with the police, and I felt bad for the police. I'm not going to blame the police. They're doing their job. A report was made. They got to follow it through, right? But why is the superintendent making false claims about harassment and all these other things on parents? Again, I'm no longer a parent in the district, so guess what most people think? And it's been questioned when I ran. Well, he's not a parent. Well, guess what? You have parents on the school board. What'd they do? How'd that work out? Tell me what they've done to fix special education, safety and security, transportation, computers, cell phones. Like, tell me what has actually been done. Special education is still there. Safety and security. Kids are still being hurt. Knives are still making it in past security. How? We can't. For some reason, we're losing more staff than ever before. We have about 68 jobs open. Our head of HR, their qualification was an educational background as an English teacher, has the other credentials, but never went to school for HR, did a workshop for HR, right? And we can't figure out why we're not drawing talent. You have to be able to practice what you preach to draw people to you. I've been in business 23 years. I employ about 25 staff. My average payroll per person is 36 to 60,000 plus full benefits. So when you're walking in with zero experience, you can make up to 40, 45,000 just with overtime. So you have the opportunity to grow within my company. What growth are we showing in our school district? People are going, okay, perfect example. Let's bring up our old past principal of Proctor that many people advocated not to get rid of. And no one listened. The board didn't listen. No one listened. And this man was running the hallways in sneakers and criticized for it. And you had a father and a daughter and other people not only go to the board meeting and speak the same night I spoke, I also got them on the radio with me at Talk of the Town, and they advocated as to why they wanted them there. The man was working with the daughter, the principal was working with the daughter of the father there to create, I think it was an African history club or something along those lines, right? So instead of just having a month, once a year month, right, it would actually be broader to educate the students year round, right? And they didn't just have to be, African American students. You could actually get multiple people in that club that could be working on educating and things of that nature. These are the things we turn down. These are the people we push away. And that's why we have trouble. And it's a pressure cooker between the staff, right? Meaning the parents and support staff and the students right here. Who's at the top? You have the board and the admin pushing down instead of relieving the pressure and using the financial resources and moving the ball forward as a team.
You want to come on the panel, YouTube, who's watching from YouTube, feel free. You don't have to show your face. You could just, raise your voice. You don't, it's optional. I just want to, hear your concern because there's a lot of comments up here, so it'd probably be easier for you to come up here and ask your question. Go ahead, take some time out, get yourself together. We'll be here. Come up to the panel. So Chris is watching from YouTube. Thank you, Chris Atkins. He says he's here. He watches from YouTube. Thank you.
What's up, Chris?
And Jennifer says, I agree that teachers are not trained to handle children who are truly in need, or do they even want to? I've noticed there are enough patients or caring teachers anymore. I noticed there's not enough patient or caring teachers anymore. I understand that it's really getting difficult for teachers, but we But can we just get along for the sake of the children?
Yes, we
The
can.
bigger picture. The bigger
So
picture.
So in 2017, I was actually asked by the former principal, Mr. Gifford, to be on the advisory committee for the Teacher Center committee. I was on the financial side. So I learned a lot in a short period of time on that committee. One, their funding was barely over, I think, $33,000 at that time period. I think I was around 32 or 34 years old. And when Anthony Berdissi was in office, I had advocated, showed the financials, gave a report, and broke down a miniature business plan on why they needed more funding. Because one thing I learned about this teacher center committee is it handles multiple different aspects, but it was running on fumes. So I believe the teachers need about 100 hours of onboarding within a 5-year period. And so it's almost like your orientation for the profession, right? Like you did all your education, all this, but you need another professional within the school system. And then you have this program that helps the training and the extended course learning that you don't learn in school. And so we went from 30 something thousand, I believe, up to 80,000 in funding. And then the other thing that was happening is there was there was an admin, and then the principal of the school district were actually the president and vice president of the teacher center committee. I'm sorry, that's a conflict of interest, right? So on top of that, they got to get these 100 hours in. Plus there's these books that they recommend for teachers to read about, one of them was about kids in poverty. And here's the thing, right? And I've told people this 100 times. Let's take it back to being a police officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you think police, it's all different races, all different backgrounds, right? But back in the day when we were all kids, your police, fire, your teachers, your EMS, all that, your DPW workers, majority of them, if not all of them, lived and worked in your city. So they knew the community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we have to remember all that is removed. A high percentage of our teachers don't live within our community, right? So they may not be used to certain approaches by a parent or a student, and they don't know how to handle it. No different than a police officer being young and from a different community coming into Cornhill and hear two people loudly speaking, right? Now, my wife's side of the family is old school Italian, all that type of stuff. But me growing up in Cornhill and everywhere else, if you're two people talking loudly, that's how they communicate, right? Some people take it as yelling. It's about to be a brawl or whatever the case may be, but that's not the case because they weren't trained or they didn't live in that environment to understand the setting.
Right. I like the way you broke that down. There's a bigger issue here. The school district is segregated by zip code, and there are certain things that come with that. Sad reality.
So that's actually a great point. One of the things that I talked about last time and before running is I would love to see our school board go from 7 to 9 members like the Common Council, and then you get voted in by your demographic of where you live. I think then you get true representation. And going back to an old question earlier on in this segment with Sparkle, is why is this election so much different for me? Well, one, we already know we're at a financially disadvantaged community, but if I can teach them how to run for the school board for little to no money and teach them all the rules of how to run for the school board, so it's not the good old boys club anymore, then we get real people on these boards with real thought, real follow through, real care. And then the voices are heard, not just by me, but by everyone we educate to lift them up to be part of the solution.
And Jennifer says weapons are getting in due to staff being concerned about the wrong thing, cell phones to be exact.
Actually, I can tell you exactly how and why those are getting in. So a few weeks ago when I was walking the dog and our dog and Louie in East Utica, I had 2 kids stop me and they're like, "Hey, are you so and so from da da da?" I'm like, thinking these kids, they're juniors in Proctor and recognize me. I was like, so the message is getting out there. But they educate me. I must have talked with these kids for at least 20 minutes to a half an hour. So this is how the weapons are getting in. And I've also talked to some staff in the district, but I won't name names. So some of the buildings, kids are getting weapons in through the back door. Like there's just doors that aren't locked at times. And again, this is staff telling me this. So the admin and everyone else is going to tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. That's been always the case. The other way kids are getting stuff in is if they're a female, they're using their bras and they're tucking things in, and or if they're wearing a belt like guys, right? They're getting their their cell phones in by tucking them in behind their belt, and they're just getting passed through saying, "Oh, it's the belt." After they do the walkthrough and then the wand. So these checks, if you really break it down, and you take a school size of 500 to 700 students just in those settings, right? In order to physically check them properly, it would take much more time than what it is. And yes, the cell phones are still getting in because of that.
Wow.
So we talked a good game about following the rules and pushing the rules, but we're really not. I mean, Columbus, I believe, a couple months ago, there was a kid that got in there with a massive, a nice sized knife that made it into the cafeteria. You didn't hear that?
Wow, sure didn't hear that. Woo, they picking and choosing.
Well, here's the other thing. Before you read this one, I think at every school board meeting, we should be speaking about how many suspensions we have, how many detentions we have, how many weapons we found, and then keeping track of the numbers if it's actually lowering, and be transparent with the public.
And what?
I'm sorry, but that's my point. Like,
we're telling everybody, like these other schools are all that. When y'all all these schools need some milk. All of them need some help.
Mm-hmm.
For real. What's up, Chris? How many allies do you have on the school board? Not really familiar with the makeup, but is it constructive, or we will have a lot of resistance?
I'm not going to lie to you. I have zero support on that school board. Think about it this way. When they first I posted, if you go to my public page, I posted how little by little, when each one, not all of them, but when some of them reached out to me, I supported each one, and I advocated, I supported, when we got a lot of the old board members off, I was going and I was thanking and patronizing them, trying to build support around them with the community, right? And little by little, each one of them fell off and just stopped talking to me, because the one thing I tell everybody, if you ask for my vote, expect accountability if you don't follow through. So this question is probably one of the best questions. And the reason why I say that, because it was also one of the reasons why I didn't entertain running sooner again. One, my first time, I knew I ran in a somewhat rigged election. It was proven, all that good stuff. But I didn't want to feel like I was getting on and wasting my time and spinning my wheels. But I can tell you from this election, whether I'm fighting against the grain, which I've done my entire life, I'm here to show you I've been successful every step of the way doing so, right? And I can only make this work even faster with your support. And that support isn't just you voting for me. And I keep saying this over and over. That means you have to hold yourself accountable as well as me to show up to these meetings, not every meeting, but if you can make one or two a year, but then also follow along online and reach out to me and say, hey, here's a concern, come up and public speak. And if you need me to stand next to you to public speak, and that goes for anyone, I've done it in the past.
You've done it for me.
Yes, because here's the other thing. Nothing against our local police, right? But if people have had altercations with police in the past, whether it was local community, outside the community, they're going to feel some type of way if someone's standing next to them while they're trying to speak. Now, I can tell you, our police officers typically now don't stand near the podium. They stand in the lobby, and every one of them have been respectful and understanding, and have been great to work with. And I'm not just saying that to say it. But the fact remains is we can move the ball forward, and I know we can. I mean, I'm getting comments on my page where people are talking about moving back to our city. What's that do for our community? That brings another solid individual with their family back in paying taxes. I'm hearing people that don't live in our city that are educational professionals saying they would apply to our district if I get on the board, because they know whether it's just me or everyone agreeing, I will not back down. I've been at this for 6 solid years. I don't have to. I choose to. That's the most important difference.
You definitely don't have to, Howard. I'm just trying to tell you. And the way you showed up too at the meeting, like, I was kind of on the corner, like you was like, nah, you just go right here, kind of helping me navigate. There was no member of the school board helping me to navigate. You got to
remember, back in 2020, I had to advocate to have a signature sheet to sign in to speak.
For public comment.
No one even knew it existed, right? Here's a good one, right? So the last school board election that I helped promote the person to get on, within 60 days, no one knew, and I didn't know, and I was educated by a member of the faculty, that when they had special meetings, we were allowed to public speak during those as well. Well, the policy was never being followed. So when I caught on to it and was educated, I brought it forth. Within 60 days of our last newest board member, they all removed public commenting from special meetings. Now think about what special meetings have been for. Moving money that when we're upside down in food budgets, right? Safety and security issues when a kid was stabbed, when a security officer was shot, all these different reasons. And then we had the board promote how they had 52 meetings, I think, the year prior. We shouldn't have a right to speak in those meetings when there's special circumstances. But they all voted to get rid of it. Again, 3 people on that board are parents, right? 2 or 3 of them are parents. Then you have one that's an attorney, one's going as an, learning to be an attorney, and they all thought this was a smart move.
Wow. Are they students in the school district, or are they just parents in general?
What's that? No, these are they're students. Yeah. Their children. Yeah. Yes, they're in the school district. Yes.
Okay. JY said that's why my daughter doesn't bring her phone to school, and that's a shame too. They should have phone lockers, but that's none of my business. Because what if
I'm gonna tell you as a father that works, again, and I keep saying it, 80 hours a week. I needed my child to have a phone because I've had even parents say it could take 15 to 20 minutes or not even get in contact with their child when they call the school district, first and foremost. Secondly, if I'm running late on a meeting and it's getting close to the end of the school time, who's going to get a hold of my child in time? No one.
Right.
So, and then you have children that need it for medical needs. So there's multiple reasons. Instead of us just looking at the cell phone as a negative, why don't we turn it into a positive? It's the same thing we were just talking about with AI. We fear what we don't know, right? And with a phone, we know what the capabilities are. Now, should kids be adhering and listening in class and not goofing off on their cell phone? Yes. I agree with that 110%. But the teachers should be allowed to teach and then correct the student in the classroom and have the support of their administrative staff. And it all breaks down through the system from top to the bottom. And again, it goes back. You got to go from the top, work yourself to the bottom, listen to everybody, and go back and build yourself up. And if we do that, it's just basic old school common sense. You don't need a million programs to get back to the basics.
Especially when you got the money coming in.
Yeah, the money's not the issue anymore. So what's the next excuse?
I used to be on the school board with the superintendent. This is Jennifer watching from Facebook. She says, I used to be on the school board with the superintendent when I first moved out here. They really didn't want to hear from the parents. They just wanted to have a body there just to say they were working with the parents. That's deep for the numbers.
Listen, I was at one of the town hall meetings, and I can tell you I had everything within me not to lose my mind in the meeting, and I'll tell you why. The table of people was made up of a security officer, I think 1 or 2 teachers, I believe a parent besides me, but I was no longer a parent in the district at the time, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
We had a board member, which was James Paul to my right, his wife, and then I believe we had the moderator, and it was one of the admin, which was the assistant financial superintendent, Kim Vile. And then we had the superintendent walking around and another board member, Braden Nana, was walking around. Mm-hmm. And we got on the topic of safety and security. And the security officer spoke up and said, hey, listen, we need to improve this, da-da-da-da. Mr. James Paul spoke up and said, no, everything's much better, da-da-da-da-da. And she's like, sir, with all due respect, how could you know more than me? I work in this building, and I'm a parent. And there was one night where she almost didn't make it home to her child because of an altercation in the school. And everyone heard it, but it fell on deaf ears. So I know firsthand that people's comments, and they're not comments, they're just viewed as open statements that don't have any merit, right? Because if they had merit, we'd be doing something about it, but we're not. But we tell you we are.
Yes, tell us we are. And she says, thank you, Mr. Howard. I pray all works out for you for the good of the community as a whole. We really need folks that will fight for good and evil. For good, not evil. For good, not evil.
Yeah, and thank you for that. And the thing is, like, we have some great parents. We just don't understand their circumstances. And we have a lot of grandparents that are raising children. We have a lot of children raising children while parents are at work. If we can't learn to break that down and understand it, how are we going to build our community? Because it's easy to do this all day long, but what work is really being done? With all these new board members, what has truly been accomplished? And yes, there's some feel good stuff, and we have a lot of great students, we have a lot of great staff, we have a lot of great parents, but it should be great for everyone and not some.
That's right. That's right. All they got to do is collect the phone, these class, and put them on the desk and get it after class. That's another idea.
That
That's
seems
another
difficult.
idea.
That seems very complicated. I don't know why we would do that. That seems like it could be easy. We can't do that.
Right. Right. Nothing easy, right, Coward?
Well, here's
But
the other thing. The cell phone policy is mandated by New York State, right? Okay, it's mandated. The process in which and how you collect and manage it is done by each individual school district. So yes, we can change the policy.
so I wanted to say something. We pretty touched on it because you covered pretty much everything, Howard. You're thorough, and I appreciate you for that. Um, but May is Mental Health Awareness Month, the whole month of May. And you already told us your thoughts on school safety. I want to know about how do you feel your thoughts on student mental health?
Oh, it's just as important as anything else, right? You know, when they come to school hungry, that messes with their mental health. If they don't feel safe and secure on the way into school, while they're in school, while they're leaving school, that messes with their mental health. So again, everything I've touched on today has to do in partly with mental health. It's just not talked about. But in enacting these changes and these improvements by telling the public, no, I want you in the seat with me. I don't want to sit in front of you. I want to sit next to you, and I want to work toward fixing this. That's all part of mental health, because guess what? When the parent's working all day and coming home and the child's frustrated and the parent can't understand why, who has the child longer in a day? The parent or the school district?
Exactly.
The school district. So again, I'm not putting all the blame on any one particular person, but we need to get back to the basics and help kids from the ground up and bring everyone together.
Yes.
That will fix and foster their mental health. Because you never heard about this when we were kids. Because why? Parents were allowed to parent, teachers were allowed to teach. And if we keep allowing the district to create this us versus them quietly, then we never get any groundwork toward helping. What was the building built for? Was it built for the parents? Was it built for the staff? No, it was built for the children.
Exactly.
And that's where we lost sight.
Yes. Whew. All right. So let me see. Okay, we got some more comments.
Yeah, keep them coming. I'm game. Let's go.
All right. So it says, my son cannot be a good student if he has to focus on surviving a day. It's either or. And that's what people don't see.
110%. I mean, listen, straight up. I was thinking more about making that dollar bill after work, going to work, than I was what was in front of me, because I knew the money was guaranteed. I didn't have the educational or the actual support to understand the knowledge can create further financial growth in the future, right? Why aren't we teaching enough about, credit cards and how they can be used for positive or negative, right? Everybody sees in society on TV and music videos and music and people around us in our community, everyone's focused on the next new car or shoes or outfit, but that doesn't build equity. It doesn't build wealth. It doesn't build growth for their families, right? And if we can get back to teaching all the fundamentals, why is that not part of the New York State educational, where you guaranteed you have to learn about mortgages, banking, car loans, basic loans, personal loans. That's what you use every day. You know what I use in business every day? A dollar store calculator that I've had for damn near 20 years plus years.
Wow.
This is how I figure out pricing. This is how I build square footage for expansions. Like, we're expanding another 6,000 square feet, which is $750,000 investment. I don't just guess at that stuff. It's basic knowledge, basic math, and common sense, and follow through.
All of those things, Howard. So what I have another question for you, just one or two more.
Yeah, listen, send them all. Let's go. Like, so, this is their time.
That's right. You heard what the man said. It's your time. He set aside this time. He carved out this time with me to make sure that your voice is heard here on Reality Speaks TV. And if you haven't done so already, please share, like, subscribe, do all the things. Run it up. So there's some people that got discouraged along the way, Howard. I would
Rightfully
like to
so.
say, if you don't get elected, don't come in, right? But I'm not. But what would you say to community members who may feel disconnected from the school system? What would you say to those people?
Well, rightfully so. I mean, if you're, and I've said this to the board members when I've public spoken, why does the problem have to get so large? The parent has to make it to a school board meeting instead of being at home with their children with the time they don't get naturally because they work so much to survive versus thrive, right? So they are going to feel some type of way if they're not being notified when their child was hurt, or that their child is failing, or that their child is struggling in something. Why would they not feel disconnected? Why would they not? Listen, I've been upset before when my son's playing baseball and football, but then he's struggling in 3 courses and no one told me, or that I find out that school books weren't allowed to be taken home and I had to go and advocate to have school books come home. How is he supposed to do his homework with the glossary and the definitions and everything? Not every kid has access to a computer and a smartphone. Mine, luckily, fortunately did, but most don't. So yeah, parents have a right to feel that way. And it's our job as a school board to hold the superintendent accountable to make sure the parents aren't feeling that way. So while we're in these board meetings and we're preaching all this positive stuff, let's really get down and out to the root of the problem and get in front of the parents, not behind the school board setting, but out to the parents and actually sit there like what they do on YouTube, right? You set up the tent and you say, ask your question like you're doing with me now. And let's set stuff like that up. Let's get out in the community and be asked questions and be told how people feel without being butthurt when someone tells us something we don't like.
And please don't take it personally. Please don't take it personally.
Your feelings have merit just like mine do. So just because I didn't live or experience what you did or dealt with doesn't mean you're wrong, and it doesn't make me right.
That's right. It says that's a relic. Those classes are foreign these days.
Hands down. Hands down. I felt disadvantaged because I'm like, all right, people that know my story growing up, they just think I'm a broken record talking about, oh, look how disadvantaged. No, it's not to make people feel sorry for me. It's to get people to understand is you can come from nothing, from the ditch, and build yourself up. We need more of us speaking up.
That's a fact. It seems like that's what the higher ups want.
Yeah.
And JY says not everyone can afford Wi-Fi. That's another thing. People go home, you don't know what their home life is like. And that also affects mental health. When I was young, I couldn't, complete certain assignments and went home or have certain arts and crafts that you have to do a science project. Didn't have the time to, or the someone to help you hands on, or the supplies you need to make a superior project, So
yeah.
I'm telling you, all of that is.
But here's the thing I'm going to tell you about that, though, because I came from that, right? All those hurdles, all those fights, and I'm not saying it's a great thing in the end, and not all of us have the tenacity that you and I and others have. Right. But if we can keep getting our voices heard, whether I get voted on or not, trust me, I get voted on, everyone's going to have their hands full because I work nonstop. Right. And I'm not taking no for an answer. I'm not going to a school board meeting when an admin for 3 months hasn't given me the information I need to do my job, because I will talk out in the open respectfully, like I've said I would, but I will create accountability for the superintendent to hold the admin accountable to get those answers for not only me, but for the public and the rest of the board. Because we've heard in numerous board meetings, the past 3 or 4 board meetings, you're not getting the superintendent report to the day of. So how is this? And again, this is me defending the board. How are they supposed to do their jobs if they're not getting the information to the last minute? But still, they have the accountability factor to hold the superintendent accountable to make sure they're getting it in a timely manner, and they're not. And that's where they're failing the school district and themselves at their job.
Pretty much. Hi, Caitlin, watching from Facebook. She said it should not take a whole year to get tested and IEP meeting for next. It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you're understaffed, okay, let's break down this math, right? And that's a great
point
statement and point. Was it about 4 to 6 months ago, maybe longer? Our school district was noted as one of the Forbes top list of employers, right? If that was a true, Oh yeah, yeah. You can research it. Dr. Spence talks about it highly. The board talks about it. It's posted all over. If that was such a strong statement and so truthful of a statement, right? And I'm not saying it's wrong, but I'm just saying if it was that true, why are we struggling to get people to apply to our district and fill our 60 plus positions? Now we have positions open as high as an assistant superintendent at $200,000 to $225,000, give or take, on that dollar amount. You can't find someone that wants that type of money that has the accolades and the credentials. I highly doubt it. But because of how they see what's being talked about and spoken about, and you got to remember, I'm not the only one speaking in the community. How many parents and grandparents just came on here talking about the negative impact they have faced within our school district? There's nothing wrong with talking about what is wrong and what is broken. Me as a business owner, I am not perfect. I've made mistakes over the years. And guess what? I fall on my sword to my staff and to my customers saying, listen, it's a growing pain. We're doing this. We're doing that. We'll pay to fix it. Let's move on together. I don't make up excuses. I ain't got time for excuses because excuses don't pay the bills. And excuses don't keep the customer coming back in. They don't keep the employee happy to come back in and feel like they have a great place to work. Right. We need to apply that same method within our school district. And the other thing, we talk about the RED program. If the RED program is doing such a great job, right? And again, I'm not knocking the people that are working these programs, but if it's doing as good as it said it is, why isn't our graduation rate and all these other things not improving? They're saying 3 through 8. That's a section. Where's the program that encompasses all, right? Let's talk about how we can help our seniors. And I've talked about this numerous times. Get more kids into the bridge program that at least have a B or higher average with good attendance. Not only that, they have a good report within the school district that we can trust them to be up with the adults, the young adults within college, which will naturally lower the classroom sizes for the seniors, right? It'll also get those kids into college a year early. And if they finish in the top 10% or so, they end up getting their second year for free, which then lowers their educational cost, which now they can afford, right? We're going to make it even playing field. Now they might be able to afford a little bit more into what college they go to for their bachelor's degree, if they choose to go further with that. That's just one way to lower classroom sizes for seniors. Just one. Then what's that do for the classroom size? For the teacher, they get more one-on-one with less kids in the room. Because here's the other thing that people don't realize why you might be facing some frustration with the teachers. You got to remember, teachers take the blame no matter what's going on in a day, right? And they have their own family to take care of. So when you're a teacher and you're down 60 plus staff and you don't know how many of them are TAs or teachers, that means they're taking on more work. What's that mean? They have to prepare for more lesson plans. Sometimes we have teachers teaching out of the course that they went to school for, which can be frustrating because they're learning the material as they're teaching it. Right. So how much harder do you think that makes it? And how much longer do you think it takes them for the grade paperwork for the student? On top of taking extra classes to bail out because we don't have enough teachers or support staff. So we all have skin in the game on why we're frustrated. Now it's time to peel back that onion and get down to the core of everything and actually move the ball forward as a team. And again, it goes back to, you vote me on, you hold me just as accountable. I'm no one special. I said I was going to do something. That also means I need your support to get it done, because if you see everybody battling me on common sense solutions, like everyone agrees with what I'm talking about for the most part, then you need to step up and support me as well to get the mission across to the rest of the board members to hold them just as accountable as me.
And each teacher should get what the superintendent is getting.
Yes.
Whatever he's getting, that's what the teachers should be getting. And the special needs teachers, they need to get $100,000 more than that, because they are underpaid. That's the one profession that nurses and teachers, they need more money than that.
Well, here's the other caveat, right? Take money out of the equation, because I'm not the highest paid employer in Utica or Mohawk Valley. Am I competitive? Very much so. Do we offer benefits where our competitors don't? Very much so. But we put a line in the sand of saying what we are and who we're going to be. And there's times we've had to turn orders away because we are 50 cents or $1.50 more per piece on something, because we believe in taking care of our staff first, as well as our customer on the back end, by honoring what we say we're going to do. So it's a balancing act, right? Mm-hmm. We first need to make the environment safe and secure. Then we need to give support to every department from bottom to the top, not top to the bottom, because we're already top heavy with consultants, with admin and their pay and their benefits and their support staff. It's time to go back to the bottom in the trenches and build them up. And when you build them up, you're going to you're going to relieve pressure, not increase it. Because as you're building, when you're releasing that tension between the teacher and the student and the parent, now you create growth. Once you create growth, now it relieves pressure all the way to the top, and then things can actually start to get done. But if kids are hungry and they don't feel safe and secure, and neither the staff, guess what you got? What you're living in now.
Yes. Whew. Sadly, Jennifer says, sadly, they're going to try to run you in circles.
I sure hope they do. I sure hope they try it.
There seem to be more programs than there is solutions to fix the school district itself.
Yeah. Let's break it down to the budget. I've actually got it up. Why does the board, you had the VP of the board, and I'm sorry to be turning away, but I'm trying to read.
No.
The board needs $343,000 more, which is a 78% increase in their line item budget to operate and run the Board of Education. But yet they didn't explain what the funding source was needed for. So when you go to a bank, right, and you ask for a business loan or a loan for a vehicle, you have to have equity, you have to have a plan, you have to have financial security to secure those loans with your debt to income ratio. We are the funding source. And it's not just our local community, it's all of New York State taxpayers are funding 92%. Out of $310 million in our budget, we only fund 30 million of it, right? So why are they not explaining what they need that money for? The assistant superintendent and other admin couldn't even explain why they needed $500,000 for an extended learning program in the summertime, nor had all their facts together on the cost and what they were going to actually accomplish. So again, if we don't show up to vote, we don't show up in the room where the meetings are happening, we can't be shocked that they're doing what they're doing. Because again, I'm going to tell everyone this as a parent, grandparent, community member, homeowner, our voices matter, but they only matter when we show up to vote and show up to the meetings as we can. And if we allow people, put it this way, right? That's like you telling your child to do something and you leave the room and you're gone for hours and you expect it to get done. Sometimes you got a high chance it's not gonna. Right. You gotta treat board members like they're an 8-year-old. Expect the unexpected at all times, because they've already and not to quote DMX, but like he said this in multiple videos on social media. Trust people to be who they are. How many times do you have to be bit by a snake to know it's a snake? And that's 50 Cent. If it rattles and slithers like a snake and it bites you, it's most likely a snake. And so if we watch 6 years of me advocating for the entire school district, not just parents, not just students, not just teachers, not just support staff, but the entire community, right? Why are we shocked that nothing's moved forward the way you want to see it? What does it take for us to come together, besides just me running for the school board, to show up at these meetings? Think about it. I run a business all day. I'm at work by 4 or 5 in the morning every day, working until 5, 6, 7 at night, still making time as best I can for these board meetings to be in person, confronting things. And I understand why some people don't show up, because they do feel like their child's going to be targeted, or they might be targeted at work if they work for the school district. I've had those comments tossed to me. So that's another thing you have to think about with the staff. What target do they have painted on their back? You don't know. And we need to be more understanding of each other, but we, the parents and community, and the community members out there that do not have a child, have never been a father or a mother, right? Your voice matters too, because you're paying in to the tax base for our children to have an education. So your voice too matters. And we need to show them support as well, because guess what? If the school system's failing, what's that do to their property value? It lowers it. So they have skin in the game, just differently. But the fact remains, hold me accountable. I actually implore it. I actually want it.
That's right. Caitlin says my kids started with 26 kids in his kindergarten class this year. That's a lot.
Oh, here's a better one for you. How many times has that kindergarten class had to merge with 2 classes if a faculty member was out and they didn't have someone to cover for them? Because that happens.
Vote Potter. I'm with
Appreciate
you. That's right. He's so humble. Look at him, y'all. All right. So now we're going back to some more comments. It says building a bridge has no balance Or has to be a balance. Nicely put, Howard. And
It's oh, go ahead. Sorry, go
I'm
ahead.
listening. I'm listening.
No, it's when I say this stuff, like again, my paper's been over here. I had a bunch of stuff that I wanted to hit, and I think I've surpassed everything. And I think we're reaching new heights of the conversation that I think are important, because at the end of the day, it's not a one size fits all package. And that's and I think and I use our company as a great catalyst for the conversation, because we have to accommodate people that need one piece or thousands, that are local, next to our community, or out of state or out of country. So if we start approaching things to where we build up instead of down, we're going to see a lot of traction in a lot of positive ways.
Jennifer says, sadly, we know what they are really doing with the funding. Don't get Potter started. Yo, Howard.
When I'm going to call it out, because we're going to talk about the elephant in the room.
Yo, Howard.
But
my man got receipts. Don't play with him, man.
I've got a lot. I've got receipts. And sadly, those receipts aren't recorded correctly, because they're supposed to say who ordered what on those receipts to adequately record the information, because those could be deemed seen as gifts to the board. So when you can have a school board president go on a radio show and basically say, I don't understand why people have an issue with what I'm eating, or what we're eating, you're missing the point. First of all, each dollar you took was dedicated for the children. And if you really cared about the children, and you're all successful in your own right and your own careers, pay for your own meal first, right? Don't take from the kids that don't have the voice in the school system. And you're eating not only better than the kids in the schools that you serve, right? Because you serve the people. That's what you went and you ran for on your platforms that you talked about. But you're also eating better than parents that are surviving to then feed their children and get ahead in life. And you're okay with that, which says everything about your character and what you stand for in this public.
Not to mention, when I was homeschooling, I found out that each homeschooling pupil gets close to 10 G's to, per student. But when I'm homeschooling, why can't I get a little stipend from that 10 G's? Because you're still getting the money. And then I have an IEP student, so you're getting more than $10,000. So I'm homeschooling my daughter. Meanwhile, y'all still getting the funding allocated for her being a special needs student. Yeah. But you won't even throw me a bone or extracurricular activity. That's another conversation. It's so much work to do.
So here's the thing about that. That actually goes higher than the school board and the school district. That goes to your politicians, because they sit on boards, or they can give commentary to New York State education on changing how that funding source is broken up. So again, it goes back to us, the people, and I'm pointing at myself, to get out and vote and ask those hard questions. So when these people are running and they're taking all the photos, and listen, I got photos too. I got plenty of photos, and I've had a lot of great in-depth conversations. But guess what? If you're not the loudest voice in the room respectfully, nothing's going to get done. And if your voice is standing on its own, less likely something's going to get done. And so it takes everyone in the community to get back into believing in the system, because I'm proof. I'm sitting here in front of you. I ran once. People have been arrested. I've had the cops call to me. I'm running again. I still don't care. Right. What I care about is building this community, but it has to be a team effort.
You got to run for something, y'all. You got to run for something.
Anyone can sit back and complain, right? And I know there's been a lot of people that have been out there speaking and have continued to speak, but we haven't done it together yet, have we?
I'm going to put that up there first. But then what we really need, what do you mean by that, Jay Watch? What we really need is more car washes, gyms, gas stations, and coffees. Are you being sarcastic because we have so many of them and it's being commercialized? No more mom and pops. Like, are you just saying, like, are you, I don't know. And to ask
yes. Yeah, Caitlin's right. It's not even like they're acting as substitutes. They're being told to go in and substitute that class. You also don't know how many long-term substitutes or TAs you have teaching classes that have no teaching background. Or, excuse me, you also have a number of staff that they couldn't get a job because there wasn't an opening in what they went to school for, which I touched on earlier. So you could have 2 dozen to 3 dozen teachers that are teaching courses they didn't go to school for. So that puts them at a disadvantage, which will create animosity and frustration, and not on purpose. But then the kids are also missing out. It's not that the teacher doesn't care. They're both learning together. I mean, think about putting a puzzle together, right? And you and your child are working on it together. You're working at the same time. You're learning at the same time. Is that always the best method? Probably not.
Probably not. Wow. All right. So, wow, we've been up here for an hour and a half. Howard, you a beast, baby. And your energy is still like as if you just got here. Like, give me some of that energy, man.
I mean, when
working 80 hours a week,
people need to understand. Like, I moved around home to home. My stuff was in garbage bags, right? So I've seen the worst of the worst. And I'm not saying there's not someone out there that's had it even worse than I have, but I had it bad enough, right? And, to be able to sit here and be interviewed by you, be questioned by the public, and all great questions and great comments, it's a privilege, first and foremost. It's a privilege that I have something most people don't have. I have my wife down the hallway. I have my 2 kids in my company every day that I get to see. Most don't get that, never will. So when we take a step back and we look at what's going on in society as a whole, the things we need to worry about more than just the national politics and the state politics are local politics. We need to get back to worrying about our community first, fixing it first, and leading by example. I'm here to tell you, I know with the staff that we have and with the students we have and with the parents we have, we could be one of the top schools, not in just New York State, but in the country, if we all work together. And that's not a soundbite for you. Right. I shouldn't be where I'm at if I didn't have the right people around me within this city. I should not be sitting here before you, succeeding every day and leading by example and trying to pay it forward. I should not, right. But I am, because of everyone.
Yeah, that's wonderful. We have some more comments for you.
Bring them.
So Caitlin says, they share a TA between classes. No kindergarten class in my school has a full-time TA. So are you a school teacher, Caitlin? I'm assuming so from your comments.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Well, here's another thing.
And she says in any class.
Well, let's go back to SPED. Let's go to special education. You had board members walk in a building in a special education classroom that had 2 classes with a medical divider in it. And it was brought up in the school board meeting. You guys hear anything else about it? I didn't think so. Also, the poor young girl of the family that owns Young Malicious, when their daughter was hit by a vehicle speeding in front of the school district with witnesses, you hear anything more about improving safety around Proctor and the speeding and maybe updating signage, putting crosswalks in, cross guards, maybe another extra police officer? You hear anything?
No.
But you heard the VP and you heard a common council member talk about how they were going to work together. What got done? Again, if the people do not speak up and hold accountability for myself and everyone else on this board and everyone else on the common council for our city, here's the other problem we have that we haven't touched on much, but we did speak about. Common council is over here and city hall's over here. The school district's over here.
Right.
Why are we not having at least quarterly meetings? And
if we really care about the city so much and the children.
Drive around the schools. How many streets have massive craters in them that are unsafe? How many unsafe sidewalks? How about bus stops where there's needles on the ground? Who's inspecting those before they tell a kid to stand there?
Oof. Man, listen. And it says, if you can't change the world, if you want impact in your community.
You got to remember one thing I learned about being in the House Good Shepherd and then going back and talking to the staff and students and working with students from other districts. Change one child at a time. Change one adult at a time. Change one teacher at a time. What do you got? Progression.
And then I I don't know how we're going to fix. Jennifer says, I don't know how we're going to fix how our children are treated in the schools who are struggling due to parents who are working doubles and triples and are not home enough to be on top of their kids' education. These parents are trying, but is looked at as if they don't care, and the children are mistreated in school by frustrated. That's true too. That's another perspective. Like children, parents could be absent. Maybe they're single parents, or maybe they're just working to try to make ends meet to provide somewhat of a life for their child. So yeah.
Well, the biggest thing is we have to be our school system, and we hear this all the time in the school board meetings. Well, we're doing all these extra services. We're acting as the parents. Da 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 da. Well, guess what? Society broke somewhere, right? What do we have all around us? How many jails do we have around Utica in the surrounding area? How many people moved from New York City to be closer to their significant other that was locked up, incarcerated for whatever the reason, right? I don't care the reason. The fact remains, people moved here. You have immigrants that moved here, right? We opened our arms. We tell them to come here, and then we get them into our school system, and then we blame them, right? We blame them. And I'm not saying the staff's job or the admin's job is easy in our school district, right? Anything worth fighting for is not easy, right? Me fighting for success for my family and my staff and my community is not easy, but here I am doing it every day, right? Whether I feel like I've done a great job or not, I've given 110%, and I'm going to continue to do so. But the fact remains is, if we, the adults, change our perspective and stop putting out in the community that, oh, if your parent doesn't show up, they don't care. No, right. How about we talk about when the parent, and again, this goes back to when we talk about kids in the House Good Shepherd, right? If they leave the House Good Shepherd, graduate high school, whatever it is they do, right? Get a job. I don't care if it's college, wherever they go, get a job. They're taking care of their bills. They're taking care of their family. Guess what they did? They broke the cycle. That's where it starts.
Right. That's where it starts. I like that. So Caitlin says she's a kindergarten parent. Okay. All right. And she says she struggled all year just to get an IEP meeting on June 4th. What's that going to do? Nothing this year.
I wish you would have got a hold of me, because I would have helped push for you. Yes. I would have had you go to a school board meeting with me. And because guess what? All those emails and stuff, I hear it from all the time from parents where they're falling on deaf ears. Go to a school board meeting. Make your voice known, and I'll come there and Facebook Live it.
He sure did. He sure is. He's about that life, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just telling y'all that. Like, he's not only a business owner, a person in the community. And I'm so grateful that you had to go through, like, it's a bummer that you had to go through those stuff, but I'm grateful that you did. Because if not, you would be a business owner, but not necessarily a community leader. You know what I mean?
Like,
you wouldn't be involved in the community as much.
When I'm thinking. One of the things that I think one of my favorite awards that I won a few years ago, I think it was almost 3 years ago. It was one of the local hero awards from United Way, and someone put me in for an advocate for this Utica City School District for speaking up for the parents and the staff and the children of the school district. And I've accomplished a lot in my lifetime. But again, if I didn't have the Big Brothers, Big Sisters programs, we didn't have the after school programs, because a lot of those, you got to remember, the number one thing people like to say about kids, and even when I was a kid, you were a kid, oh, they're getting younger and dumber, younger and dumber. Well, in reality, we are actually making them dumber now. And then we're blaming them for it. And then we keep pointing at them. And then we say, don't bully people. But then we watch the adults within the school system bully each other, right? We watch parents and we watch staff go at each other. Every day. Yeah. And again, it comes back to, what if we relieve that pressure from the parent and the staff, and we gave that child a little bit more support between both? Magic can happen. Reality can set forth progression, positivity, building our community. That's what could actually happen. And with 310 million, you got to remember, back in COVID days, we had about $180 million school budget, and we have 310 million. So money's not the issue.
Money is no longer the issue.
It's called stop segregating us, whether it's staff and parents and students. Start bringing us together and start bringing some real meaningful dialogue to the situation, and let's move the ball forward.
And they might have the cream, which is the money, but they might not have the creativity. You know,
Listen,
a lot of people are just not creative enough.
well,
I'm just
you
gonna
take
put
you
it out
take
there. I
you know
love
you.
y'all, but a lot of people are educated, but they're not creative.
Well, that's the thing. You take creativity, you take thinking outside the box. The other thing, okay, look at your admin, look at your school board representatives. I'm very happy for them that they're all successful in their own ways outside or inside the school district. But how are you going to help people you didn't live like? You can read a book all you want, but unless you lived it, you don't really understand the emotions and the feelings behind the comments or the statement or the raised voices at times.
And Jennifer says there isn't anything new. The teachers from my time dealt with children with all kind of issues, whether physical or educational, and they handle it year after year for so many years. I just see that some of our educators just don't have the same heart. Yeah, that's probably because um
Well, the thing is, we got to go back to the basics. Teachers were allowed to teach. Now it's a
mm,
system. Now it's a system. We're teaching kids to be employees, not thinkers.
that is the main difference. And I don't want anything to be missed here.
Mm.
So election day is May 19th here in Utica, New York. I wanted to, throw that out there. I know you did already, but I want to
Noon to
know
9 p.m.
noon to 9 p.m. Where can people learn more about your campaign, Howard?
Basically, they go right to my social media platform on Facebook under Howard Potter. I do have a personal page that's Howard Potter and that's private, and then I have my public page that is Howard Potter as well. And the reason why my personal one is private is because I was having a lot of people trying to go on and take stuff and try to use it against me, whatever the case may be.
Mm,
Um, and so it's one of those things where I shut it down for the most part. But my public page, and here's the thing, you want to talk about transparency? Look at my public page. It has my home address and my personal cell phone number. It's been up there the entire time.
So check them out. Facebook, Howard Potter. The spelling is right there for Utica City School Board. And May 19th is election day in Utica, New York. And I'm sure you heard enough and a lot today. Final message to the voters and the families of Utica, Howard.
I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm not going to tell you what you need to hear. I just want you to vote me on so I can show you with my actions. I've been at this for 6+ years. I haven't changed my ways in the sense of backtracking. You have seen positive progression because of the simple fact there was people removed from the school board, removed from the school district. People have learned from how to advocate for their child by reaching out to me. And again, I've learned a lot from the community, including our staff. And we need to be understanding that it takes all of us. It's a village. That means the staff, the parents, and the students working together as a unit.
Very good. All right, you heard it here first, and I'm just going to put up some comments that was already in the comments,
Yeah.
and that's Vote Potter.
Appreciate it, Caitlin.
I mean, I'm not biased, but I already know what you could do, Howard. Man, I saw you in action firsthand. We both had our boots on the ground. We was out there in them streets, on them in
Mm-hmm.
Utica City School Board streets. So the other person that's running, I know that you got to get out there, but Howard, he's done his homework. He got receipts. He's well versed. It's a no brainer at this point. I just got to keep it 100 with my heart and what I know what this man can do, what he's capable of. Because like I said, I work shoulder to shoulder with him, so I already know what Power is about. And he runs a successful business. That's one part of who he is. He's an exceptional man. He overcame challenges, but when it comes to this, he knows what he's doing. And for today, I would like to think that if you cared about your future or your child's future, you would make that move on May 19th. What time you said it was?
The election starts at noon and it ends around 9. And if they go to the Utica City School District website, it'll also give them all the voting locations. And then they'll be able to there's a search engine where they can load in their address to see where they vote at for their polls. Okay. Thank you, Jennifer.
And so we want to thank you, Howard, for joining us this morning to afternoon. You stayed with us almost 2 hours, Howard. You are the real MVP for the people. You see what I mean? This man will
Listen,
stop his multi-million-dollar business for the people.
and here's the other thing. I want to give a huge shout out to Luca and his people at Voice of the Voiceless. They're doing some big things for the community. Yeah,
Luca!
they're doing some amazing things. We hooked up a few weeks ago, chopped it up, had some great dialogue, great conversations, and we got some big things coming for the community. So stay tuned for that. But like again, you can vote me in, but it's not going to work unless we're all together as a team. And I listen. We both know I'm going to plant my feet and I'm going to stand on my ground on what I believe and what I know to be true. And I'm going to be respectful every step of the way. But I need the people to not only vote me in, but hold me accountable and show up when it's important.
And that's wonderful for somebody to say, don't only show up, y'all, hold me accountable. Who says that, right? Most people, once they get voted, you don't see them again. They be hiding. You can't get them, they not regular people, man.
Yep.
I'm just trying to so Luca is also a Voice of the Voiceless, and he's teamed up with our other brother. I'm just trying to make sure I got there.
Deshaun.
Deshaun, yes, exactly. Yep. I'm trying to go
another amazing local man doing big things.
These people, I got to get them on the show next. They got to come on and tell everybody, because they out there in the streets, they making it happen. So I was really excited when I seen you two link up, because I already know 2 Pisces, it's gonna get done.
Oh, it's going down. You already know. The chaos is about to start.
That's right. And Deshaun has a wonderful, wonderful story. He turned his pain into purpose with GGB Tree Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's owned so many properties in this area, and he's building up, and he teamed up with Voice of the Voiceless. And I see that you got something cooking for them.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes.
Oh yeah.
Howard, man, you're the best, Howard. I really appreciate you. I want to thank you for being here, Howard, today.
I want to thank everyone that came on here. You guys had some great questions, some great concerns, and rightfully so. And don't let this moment be forgotten. Keep this moment and this momentum going for when and if I'm on the school board. And even if I don't get voted on, be there along my side to start holding everyone accountable with me, because I'm not stopping.
Don't stop, won't stop. So
thanks.
Thank you again, Howard. I can't thank you enough. You made this show phenomenal. You remind us that the future in our community begins with the education of our children.
Yes.
We want to thank you, Mr. Potter, for joining us here today on Reality Speaks TV, for sharing your vision, for sharing your passion, and your commitment to the Utica City School District and the Board of Education. And I want to say, you're not limited to the Board of Education. You're just passionate about the city of Utica, but most especially with the with the Utica City School Board. No matter your political views, one thing we should all agree on is that our children deserve to be heard, supported, protected, and prepared for the future.
Hands down.
Remember this: your voice matters and your vote matters. Election day is May 19th, so make sure you get out and vote. I'm your host, Sparkle Denise, and this has been Reality Speaks TV, with real people, real talk, and real time. See you next time. Peace.